Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is so good to be here today, and I have a special guest in the studio. Well, yeah, special guest. He's no stranger to me, but he is a special guest today, and we're going to talk about his new book. Welcome, Terry D. Swain, my brother from the same mother,
That is correct.
today with his book, Businistry.
Businistry. That
I
is
like
it.
that name. It's so
Yeah,
unique.
it is. It
Yeah,
is.
I like that. And as they can see, we have here the image up. So, yeah, Businistry, making a dollar while making a difference.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the mission.
Okay, so you know that name. I've always said that name is unique. Tell me about business and ministry meeting each other to create this name.
Yeah. So, um, very short story. I was one day when I was living in Alabama, and I owned a barbershop business that I started, and I was writing out the vision and the mission for the barbershop. And as I was writing it out, I wanted it to be a place of business, but also ministry, where it could serve the people in the community as well. And at the time, I think I was pastoring a church. And so, it only made sense to incorporate ministry into it
Mm-hmm.
because I don't believe that ministry is separate from a person. Like if it's a part of their purpose, then it's a part of their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to incorporate that into every aspect of my life and even in business. And so as I was just writing down the mission and, the two words just kind of blended together. And I was like, business and ministry, businessry.
Yeah.
And so that's where the initial idea of businessry came from, the merging of business and ministry. Yep.
Okay, I do remember that barbershop.
Yep. Yep.
You're not cutting anymore, though,
Nah,
are you?
I've moved on from that profession.
Okay, so give me an example of how the two merge.
Okay, well, I will take the barbershop, for example, and that's more of an older version of businessry because when the concept originated, I was thinking of how I could serve people in a spiritual capacity because that was a part of my faith. And so that's what business and ministry is. It's incorporating the core values of your faith into your business. And so and then we have to break down the word ministry because some people, when they think of ministry, they think of, a church building ministry. And but ministry simplified is just service to God. And so that means that anybody can serve God in whatever capacity that God has purposed them or called them to serve Him in, whether that's a teacher, whether that's a chef, whether that's a business owner, whether that's, it's just whatever you do. Ministry is how you serve others in the capacity of whatever it is that you're doing. And so as a barber, that was a part of, I had to find a way to connect ministry to that and how I served other people. And so in the community, what would happen is people who knew I was a pastor or knew I was like a spiritual guy, or they would come to me for advice, come to me for counseling. And I noticed that all of those things were incorporated into what I do. So the conversations were different in the barbershop. And so
Wow.
I began to intentionally incorporate that service to people into the business of barbering. And so it goes further than that, but that's one example. The second example would be a company, the business that I'm running now, Black House Fashion, it was started based on what was going on in the world at the time of the George Floyd and all of the police killings of black young men, Ahmaud and just all of those. All this was going on at this time, and we started a T-shirt line, and it basically was just a T-shirt line that just said something to the. I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was something about black men. You're valuable. We love you.
Oh, I remember that T-shirt.
Yeah.
My son would wear it all the time. He loved that T-shirt.
And a lot of people did, and so that was what it started from, and then I started looking into how people were saying that there are different ways that you could serve in helping the cause. But financially wasn't one of them. it wasn't at the top of my list. You know, I was showing up at rallies and marches and, you know, all in the streets, you know, trying to make noise. But I was like, yeah, that's good to bring attention to it. But what about, like, what's sustainable that we can do? And so I began to find causes like Black Lives Matter. And that's where the ministry began to connect with the business. And so I said, let's just start an entire fashion brand that we can use some of the proceeds from to support causes that
I love that.
would help the Black Lives Matter.
I think this is the first I've heard that story. I like that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So those are two examples of how you can incorporate ministry into your business.
Okay. All right. And so you're hoping to inspire, teach others, and teach them how to do the same?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So that's it. So, and that's the purpose, because I share those stories in there, but I also go on to find other, I went on to research and find other ways, and there is so many ways that people can merge ministry, which again is just service, whatever their service is to God. Because when I define Businistry in the first chapter, in each chapter, I have a quote or a saying, and in the first chapter, which is called Businistry, I have a tagline that says, "Business is your service to the world, and ministry is your service to God."
Ooh.
And so that way, when we're combining the two, we don't get we mix them perfectly. Yeah, you know, it's a perfect balance, because whatever our service to the world is not always what our service to God is. And so we have to make sure that in serving the world, we implement our service to God. And so there are numerous ways, you know, if it's and I talk about in corporations, like people who don't have a business, they can find ways to do ministry in whatever their career field is. Not only that, but the corporations that, you know, the CEOs and the top level leadership, you know, there's always ways that they can implement ministry or service to God into the business as well. You know, whether it be DEI, you know, diversity, equity, and inclusion, whether it be, you know, mental illness, ways that they find to incorporate dealing with mental illness, just the way that they develop the culture. So I mean, it's just countless ways that different businesses can incorporate ministry into their business.
Okay, so when I hear the word business, I think about...
Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah.
And I'm talking about the PR and not the PH.
Yeah.
Profit.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah.
So how does that fit into this?
Yeah, so that's it. So even I'm such a peculiar, particular guy that even when I was looking at the word businessry, I was thinking like, well, why couldn't it be ministry-ness? You know, it's still a combination of the word ministry and business. You're just taking different parts of it. But I felt, you know, I'm a spiritual guy, so I felt led to keep business first, because ministry is not first in business. Business is first. And like you said, the profit, the bottom line. But even though we're focusing on the bottom line, we don't forget the people that are at the bottom, because that's why we use the profits for purpose. That's why we use the money for ministry. That's why we use the finances for fulfillment. And so, and I do highlight that the first priority of a business is to make money. But again, you can still make money or make dollars and make a difference. So that's where the tagline comes from, making a dollar while making a difference, because you have to make a dollar to stay in business. But at the same time, you can use those dollars to make a difference.
Okay. I'm reminded of a scripture in Luke where Jesus says, do business.
That's right.
Until I come again.
That's
okay. It. Until I come. Did that have any
of course
bearing? Yeah.
Yeah, because that's my foundation.
Yeah.
And that's really the foundation of Businistry. There are a lot of scriptures that I highlight. When I do the revision, I have to add that into it. But if you look at Jesus, he was a carpenter by trade, so he understood business. Each of the disciples, their livelihoods, they were connected to a trade. Most of them were fishermen. Luke was a physician. Matthew, was he a tax collector? So Jesus understood, because you're going to need finances to fulfill the purpose of God that is on your life and on your business. And so that's key. That's important. So we have to do business until he comes. And even if we stretched it out and we went back into the Old Testament, there's a scripture that talks about God has given us the power to get wealth. And a lot of times people will just quote that part of that scripture. I think it's Deuteronomy 8:18. But they'll quote that first part of that scripture, but they'll forget that he says that, do not forget that it is I who gives you the power to get wealth so that you may establish my covenant. And so establishing God's covenant is doing ministry, fulfilling his purpose. And so he's basically saying, I've given you the power to get wealth. And that wealth, of course, you use it to sustain yourself, your family, your business or whatever. But he said, it's also given to establish my covenant. And so I go into tapping into our specific purpose too, because that makes a difference too in how effective and how passionate we are. Well, what our passion is will determine how effective we are. Because if our ministry is connected to our passion and that's what we're pursuing and fulfilling, then it will be effective because that's where we're putting our energy towards.
So what advice would you give someone who they want to merge the two, their purpose, their purpose and their business, when I say purpose driven, like their ministry, what they do with their business, what type of advice would you give?
Well, it would really depend. Well, just generically, it would be identifying what it is that you feel called to do, like whatever your service to God is. And a lot of times it's directly connected to your business or whatever, whatever vocation or trade that God has called you to. Because even in the definition of businessry, and I give it in the first chapter, I talk about how it is the merging of the combining of a person's occupation, profession, or trade with the principles of their faith. I'll say that again. Businessry is the combining of a person's occupation, profession, or trade with the principles of their faith. So your occupation may not necessarily be an entrepreneurial endeavor. It could be just whatever your career path is, whatever your career field is, and you find purpose in that. And a lot of people, I remember people leading, volunteer efforts on the job, because that was a part of their service. They like to volunteer, so they incorporated that and offered that as a suggestion to management, and that then built out, a space for volunteerism within the company.
I like
that. So it's really just finding out what it is that you're passionate about and just connecting that or plugging that into what it is that you're doing already in business. So it would really depend on what a person does, what their vocation, trade, occupation, or niche is in business, and just incorporate what it is that they're passionate about as far as it's serving and helping other people.
I will ask this for you. What was the biggest challenge you had to overcome in merging the two?
Try not to think about because you have two objectives. And again, the first one is to make money. And I think sometimes in making money, in our pursuit and focus to make money or make a profit, that we put the purpose on the back burner. But again, it does not always take finances, it does take finances, but there are other ways that you can find until the business is profitable enough to be able, because like with Black House, we started off with doing like 10% of all of our sales. Mm-hmm. That's what we would use to fund other organizations.
Okay.
Now, of course, the overall goal is to increase that as we continue to go. Mm-hmm. But it's just, and that's one of the challenges is the money, just making sure that you don't focus more on the ministry side, that you lose the purpose of what the business is engaged in doing, and that's making money. And so it's just really finding the balance between how to keep ministry incorporated, but at the same time, don't lose focus of that this is not a ministry. This is a business, but it has the element of ministry attached to it. So that's why that's second nature. But the first priority is making money. And again, that's probably for me the biggest challenge is just to stay focused on making the money, but at the same time, finding opportunities where you can serve others.
I think also you said that balance. I think it's also a balance to remind yourself that the ministry is a part of it, because sometimes we can go so deep into the business and kind of get lost in that and just focus on making money.
Yep.
And but this isn't about chasing money.
No, it's not. It's not, because I'll say this. I've noticed that whenever, and this is just how God works, whenever you elevate God in something or his purpose, then he's going to send the provision. And that's what I've learned, is that as long as he's at the center of it, and when I say the center, I know that can sound religious, but I mean that he's in it, that he's involved in it.
Yes, I understand.
And any work that we do, again, and that simplifies it too, it takes the religious aspect out of it, because anybody can do ministry.
Yes.
God can use anybody. Mm-hmm. Anybody can do good. Anybody can serve. Anybody can volunteer. Anybody can help. And so whatever business that we're engaged in and whatever it is that's on our heart that God has given us to serve, help, aid, assist people in any way or capacity, that's the thing that drives the ministry part of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So where can they find this amazing book?
Yeah, so it's on all platforms, anywhere books are sold.
Oh, okay.
Barnes and Nobles, Books A Million, Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, on Amazon. And if anyone wants an autographed copy, they can order it directly off of the website, terrydswain.com. Mm-hmm. And there's a section where you can request a signature copy at no additional cost. But of course, if you buy it from Amazon or Books A Million, Barnes and Noble, then you're just going to be buying just a regular copy of the book. But if anyone wants an autographed copy, then they can order directly off of the site, terrydswain.com, and just request an autographed copy.
Okay. What's in store for you? What's up next?
Well, just to continue doing what I love to do, and that's writing. I have other books that I'm working on, but this one right here is my main focus.
Okay.
And again, I have so many books in my head, but it's just a matter of just putting together the strategy of what's next and what to put out next. I have a good idea of which book is next, but again, like I said, I'm just focusing on
this one
right
now.
Yeah.
Now, are you planning to do a tour?
I am. I'm actually working on it now.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're putting together a tour, and it'll be just for the southeastern region.
Okay.
Is what we're targeting first. And then our plan and our hope is, as we're doing the tour here in the southeastern area, that, it'll catch a fire, other people hear about it.
Yes.
And we'll be able to take it further.
Oh, wow. Well, let me say I'm so proud of you. I think I was a little surprised that you're such an amazing writer.
Thank you.
And I say that because, we grew up together. I didn't see you writing. You know, most time you hear a story, they in the corner writing or whatever.
Yeah. I was always writing poems and
You
raps
sure
and,
were.
you know,
Wait a minute. You were always.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
You were writing. But I'll leave that alone. But you were always writing poems.
Yeah. I have some stories, you know, about that too. Some good, some bad. But yeah.
Yeah. I remember. No, you had beautiful poetry. So I guess that poetry opened the door for the next level.
Yeah, I think it did because it led from poetry to writing raps.
Okay.
Then it went on to writing songs, and and then the literary works were just from the messages and sermons.
Yeah.
And so that's really where it just kind of took off, because Businistry actually comes from a sermon. Because after I got the revelation, I wrote a sermon called Businistry, and it was like a 2-3 part, and I was like, yeah.
That's okay. That's where it started.
Sense.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it has been an honor, and thank you so much. And I want to encourage everyone to go out and get the book ASAP. Go online, order it. The website is on the screen, terrydswain.com. So you want to order it there, Amazon, any other place. But definitely, and I know once you read this one, you're going to want to order the others as well. So go ahead and just snag those as well.
That's right.
Well, it's a pleasure. Any final words you want to say?
Yeah, I would just, like to say that for anyone who is on social media and they want to follow me. All of my handles across social media, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, it's Terry D. Swain.
Okay.
At Terry D. Swain. So
at Terry D. Swain.
Easy to find.
Yeah, that's good. So at Terry D. Swain, we'll see that on the bottom of the screen as well. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again. And thank you guys for joining us today. And go get the book.
Go get the book.
See you next time.